Hi guys, welcome to today's video. We're going to be testing out the Fujifilm GFX 50S and the Sony A7R2. Got my arm tight, I have to swap arms. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So let's go. So there's the van. Oh, it did really well driving up to Lake District last week. It's almost finished. We've got a few more things to do inside, then be ready to drive it to Scotland. Right, so let's go. Okay, so we are now in the van. As I said, I mentioned before that I'm converting this van for the Scotland trip. So I bought a Mercedes. For those that don't know, I bought a Mercedes Sprinter a couple of weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago now, and over time I've been slowly converting it into a camper. So Nonsuch Mansions is a Grade 2 listed building. It was built in 1743 by client Joseph Thompson. So that's where we're going today. Green light, go. Looks really nice here. So the Nonsuch Mansion's actually I think it's an old Georgian house. I believe it's part of National Trust. Correct me if I'm wrong, it might not be, I'm not too sure. I don't think it is, but it is set on 300 acres in the outskirts of London / London Surrey area. It's about 15 miles south of central London. So it's not far, it's literally a stone throw. Okay, so here we are. Just got down to the mansion. So that's where we're at today. Just going to get all my gear now and walk over to the mansion. I'm probably going to shoot somewhere down about there, just so you see the mansion popping out. I don't want to see the whole mansion, just want to see a snippet of it, because it's so big. It'd just be a bit of a boring shot if we saw the whole thing. So it's going to be a sea of wisteria here, and then just a mansion there, just popping out. Actually, let me see what it looks like over here. Let's go over here and see what this looks like. You might see a bit more then. So I quite like that. Got a path there, that might look quite cool. I might do that one as well. I don't want to see too much of that, what is that, a yew tree? I think that's a yew. I don't want to see too much of the yew, I'd rather see wisteria. What about really low? Nah, I don't know, I'll play around. So that's currently where I'm at. Right, I've got to show you this, guys. Just about to set up, and it is only 9 degrees Celsius out. It looks warm. But again, I said that in one of my videos, it's the thing with the UK, it looks really warm out, but just don't be deceived, it is only 9 degrees out and the wind is just bitter. So let's get started then. I've already set up my cameras now. So here we go. So I've got the Sony 7200 f4 on, and I've got the GFX, Fujifilm GFX with the 32-64 f4. So full frame, medium format. But it is beautiful here, lovely day out. Few clouds out, but yeah, so it's beautiful. So let's get on with this shoot and take a couple of photos and compare them back at home in Lightroom. Right, let me get my gloves on quick, it's bloody cold. Right, so before I set up, I just want to answer a few questions. I've been getting a lot of questions on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook actually. Why do I use a light meter? There's a few reasons really. It's one's habit. I've always used a light meter for quite a long while now. I prefer to use a light meter simply because I don't really trust the camera's light meter. All cameras struggle with high contrast scenes, especially snowy white scenes. I know there's no snow here, but it's habit. Just because we shoot now digital doesn't mean we should just throw out all that stuff that we used to do back in the day. I think we should still, if anything, more than anything, capture it right now in camera. So I still want to capture the right exposure on a digital format. That's all we're doing. So that's one of the reasons why I use a light meter. If I did want to print out an image, I want to know that I've captured the highlights and not blown out, and captured the shadows and the darks and not underexposed. I need to be able to capture, and I need to know my dynamic range of my camera sensor. I don't want to go off the back of my camera because, as I said before, they're JPEGs. Completely ignore that. Just because we're shooting digital, we still need to be able to capture, you know, the image right in camera. Just because you can snap, 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 doesn't mean, you know, you're going to capture it right. You need to be able to capture it right in camera. So that's what the light meter is enabling me to do. So I've been getting so many questions like, why do you use a light meter? Why do you use the light meter? Can't you use the camera's light meter? And you can, but I want to capture it right in camera. I don't want to take 50 pictures and hope for the best. I want to get it right in camera and know that I've got it and nail it. So that's one of the reasons why I do it. So I mean, this is still a great camera. The A7R2 is still a great camera, but it's no comparison to medium format. It's just no comparison. I do love the Sony, but I've fallen in love with the GFX. It's just a more robust camera, I've found anyway. I've had it now, actually, yeah, I've had the GFX now for nearly a month, for just over a month. So I might do a review over the GFX. For me, it's been absolutely fantastic wherever I've been up to Lake District last week. It was absolutely freezing up there, and it did not butter an eyelid. I mean, the batteries were just amazing. Sony, if anyone shoots with Sony will know you're constantly chucking in new batteries. You need to carry like a freaking battery pack on your side, just a constant refreshing the battery. It's not pro. The Sony is not a pro camera. The A7R2 is not pro for pro shooting. You got crap battery life. You only get one SD card slot, but the sensor is amazing. The sensor on the Sony A7R2 I found to be amazing. So obvious difference, obviously the Sony is a lot smaller, but as I said before, you've got to carry normally about 10 batteries with you, so that once you've got all the batteries spare, the weight is almost the same as GFX. I love this eyepiece that sticks out. It's really, really good if you wear glasses or whatever. I mean, this sticks out a little bit, but it's nothing like the GFX. The GFX is just built for professional use. It's just an amazing camera. All the dials on top, it's just so robust. It feels great in the hand. Sony, yeah, it's more of a computer, completely different user experience, but it's nothing like the GFX. I mean, that eyepiece just protrudes out. If you also get the adjustable viewfinder, it sticks out even more. So it then really protrudes past the screen, so you don't get your nose all stuck on the screen, which is really annoying. On the Sony, completely different experience. Your nose is like right up against the screen. It's not annoying, but you know, I'm really nitpicking now. So let's, got the meter. While the sun's out, I'm going to quickly jump out there and get the ambient meter reading for my midtones. So I'm jumping out there because there's no sun here. I wouldn't take it here because there's shade. It's in full shade. I need to be out there because that's the same light that's falling on the mansion right now. So I've got my Soconic 758. So there's a specular highlight currently on the dome, which I'm just going to use my finger to get rid of, because it'd be like it's looking really hot. So I'm just using my finger currently to get rid of the specular highlight on the dome, take a meter reading, and I've got 1/30th of a second at f16. So while I'm here, I type that into mid. While I'm doing that, let me go and get a GoPro actually, because a few people have been asking, can you show a bit more detail on the light meter? 1 second. Right, so as you guys can see, I've got the GoPro now. It's 1/30th of a second. I hold down mid-tone. That puts it into 0. So this is currently my what my sensor can see. Can you see them teeny tiny little dots? Just under +4 stops, and then just under -5 stops. That's my current GFX. I'm set to camera profile 1 there, which is set to GFX and not the Sony. So let's now look for the highlights. Yeah. So now I'm looking for. So I've switched this over to spot. So now I'm going to look for the highest number, which is going to be the brightest thing in the scene. So I'm just waiting for the sun to come out right now. So I've locked all that data in, 100 ISO, f16. And obviously my midtone's locked in there at 0. So I'm currently waiting for the sun to pop out, which it's about to do. Where is it? Let's have a look. Have a look, here it comes. So, the sun is about to pop out. So I'm going to go back into the shade so you guys can see what I'm doing. I might be able to try. If you wanted a close-up version of this, if you wanted to see the screen a bit better, in the previous video of Joe, you can actually see him holding it like this and the meter changes. So there you go. So can you see right at the bottom there, it's blinking, it's at its max, so I'm +3 stops. So I'm +3 stops, so I can now put that into memory. So I press the button here on my index finger, okay? That puts it into memory, so it stopped flashing now, right? So now I look for the darkest thing in the scene. It's probably going to be that, I think that's a yew tree just to the left of the mansion. So I press and hold. So can you see now the small dot that's indicating, the darker spot that's indicating, it's at -1 stops. So I currently know there's 1, 2, 3, 4 stops difference between the shadows in this scene and the highlights. So I now can put that into memory. So I press and hold memory. Here you go, and now it's stopped flashing. So I currently know that my GFX can currently see this scene, not have any issues. I can tweak the GFX a bit more, I can push it. A lot of people are saying, oh, isn't it meant to be 13, 14 stops? Yeah, it's meant to be, but I've pulled it down a little bit. I don't want it to be maxed right out, so I've pulled it down. I don't want it to be at its max. So I'm currently zoomed out on the Sony to 70mm, and I'm currently zoomed out at 64mm on the GFX. The medium format's completely different to full frame, so 64mm on the GFX is around, I'm not going to guess, I'm going to put it up in the bottom, somewhere around here, what it actually is the equivalent to focal length wise. So 64mm, I'll put it up here what it's actually equivalent to, but it's not actually 64mm in full frame terms. Alright, so yeah, so I've set both cameras to manual. I've always shooting manual, never shooting anything but manual. I've manually focused both the Sony and the GFX. I'm now about to take the shot. The sun, where's the sun? Where's it gone? It's got a good few minutes yet before it goes in. So let's take them shots now. Take the Sony shot. They're both going to look a bit different because obviously they're both going to look a bit different because obviously this is set to 3.2 aspect ratio and the GFX is set to 4.3. So let's now take the shot on the GFX. 3, 2, 1. Cool. So I'll chuck them up now. One of each. You should be able to see that on the screen right now. They do look completely different. Completely different. So both cameras are set to standard profile. The colours, just looking at the back of the screen, I know the screen isn't really representative of what's actually going on, but the colours just look so different. So different. Really vibrant, punchy colours on the GFX. Quite flat looking colours on the Sony. So let's now get back into Lightroom where it's nice and warm and compare these images. Right, so now back in Lightroom. The images might take a while to load in between because they're massive. But you can see that Sony's version of what the colours should look like is actually quite flat looking compared to Fuji. Now Fuji are well known for pumping up the saturation and colours, but that's why I started to use my X-Rite colour checker passport, because it gives a colour profile across the board. Because every camera manufacturer has a different reference for green, different reference for red, and so on and so forth. So that's why I started to use the colour checker passport, because it creates a custom profile for when you want to print, which is really important. So you get so your colours look as they were shot. Apple are very well known for images not coming out so well in print, so that's why we now calibrate our screens so that reds look like reds and greens look like greens, and that's what they use the colour checker passport for. It creates a custom colour profile. So you can see, I mean, that's the GFX, looks amazing straight out of camera, no tweaking. And then you can look at the Sony, a little bit more zoomed in obviously because it's 70mm full frame. But yeah, you can see the difference. I mean, I prefer that one obviously, but the Sony, yeah, I used to think the Sony was the nuts until I got the medium format, and then it just completely changed everything. So let's zoom in now, 1 for 1, if it would let me. So there's the difference in. So this is 4 to 2. My bad, 4 to 3 aspect ratio, and 3 to 2. So let's zoom in at the windows. This might take a while to load because it's two major big files. It's going to test my computer trying to load these files. Sony's still taking a while to load. So as I scroll over, Sony looks quite soft there, you know. Don't know if you can see that around the window detail here. It's really soft here compared to the GFX. Let's scroll up to the top, get some detail. Yes, it's amazingly sharp, this GFX. There you can see major difference. How flat the Sony looks in colour wise. Where else can I go? Go back into this U. I think this is a U tree. Looks like a U. A lot more detail in the branches also, especially around here compared to here. This looks really soft now. Both shot they shot at f16, so you'd expect them to be pretty sharp. What about this foreground? See again, even there, look. You'd expect the Sony to be sharp at that point, but I'd say the GFX is winning there again. But look at the difference in colour. That's Sony's version of purple. That's Fujifilm's version of purple. You know, you'd have a different story when you go to print. That's why it's good to calibrate your screen and use colour checker passport of some sort to create a custom profile. What about down here in this woodland bit? See, look at that. Sony's version is very off from what I can see. I think I need to do another test. This isn't really... Yeah, the grass looks pretty sharp on the GFX. You can even see a dandelion there. These look like blurs. But that's just down to the lens. I think I need to do another test and do a darker scene, maybe like inside a woodland, and see what the shadows, what kind of details I can pull back from the shadows, comparing the Sony and the GFX. So this test is not really over. I'm going to have to go back out again when I get back from LA and do another test, I think. But user experience, the GFX wins hands down over the Sony. Sony's just so complicated to use. If you're just starting out, Fujifilm GFX is a lot easier to use. So I'm out in LA next week. I can't wait to get outside and into the warmth. It's so cold here in the UK right now. So I'll see you next one. Thanks for watching.